Oil is like the lifeblood of modern industry. You've probably heard this before, but let me remind you, oil is a non-renewable resource. Well, technically, it is renewable, but it takes millions of years to form. And since we consume it at an enormous rate, it makes me wonder, will there come a day when we run out of oil? Before answering that question, let's imagine what the world might look like if oil suddenly disappeared overnight. First, fuel supplies would vanish almost instantly. The end of oil would bring most industries to a grinding halt. Gasoline cars, motorcycles, lawn mowers, ships, and planes would all be rendered useless. Here in the US, this would hit particularly hard since 60% of electricity still comes from fossil fuels like coal and natural gas. Without oil, transporting coal and gas to power plants would be nearly impossible, and blackouts could sweep across the nation. Sure, electric vehicles like Teslas would thrive in the chaos, but even they aren't yet affordable for most people. Food supplies would be another massive challenge. Modern agriculture depends heavily on oil, not just for tractors and machinery, but for transporting food across the globe. Without trucks, ships, and planes to deliver goods, grocery store shelves would empty fast. The military wouldn't be spared either. Tanks, jets, supply trucks, and even basic logistics would fall apart without fuel. Railroads might see a temporary resurgence as a means of transportation, but even they would struggle to keep up with demand. Now, this is still a somewhat optimistic scenario. A more pessimistic take? No electricity. No food, no jobs. The collapse of governments, wars over dwindling resources. And yes, in such a world, survival would become the priority, with many succumbing to hunger and conflict. But let's not jump to conclusions just yet. Let's go back to the big question. When will we run out of oil? Honestly, the better question might be, will we ever completely run out of oil? Throughout history, experts have repeatedly warned that oil reserves were on the brink of depletion. In 1914, they said we had only 10 years left. In 1939, the prediction was 13 years. And again, in 1951, they said 13 years. Yet here we are in 2024, with an estimated 1.6 trillion barrels of proven oil reserves still in the ground. At the current rate of consumption, around 100 million barrels a day, those reserves could last about 43 years. But here's the thing, those numbers only account for proven reserves, oil that's confirmed and relatively easy to extract. There's likely much more oil out there that we haven't found yet, or don't have the technology to access economically. It's like driving at night. Your headlights only illuminate a short distance, but you know the road continues ahead. There's no urgent need to explore farther when we already have plenty of oil to last decades. On top of that, the world is gradually shifting towards greener alternatives. Electric vehicles are gaining traction, and prices are expected to drop significantly in the next few years. Planes with more efficient engines and improved aerodynamics are already flying, and even small electric aircraft are emerging. Solar and wind power are expanding rapidly. For instance, the US aims to achieve 80% renewable energy by 2035, and countries like China are investing billions into renewable energy infrastructure. So, will we ever stop using oil? Maybe. Humanity moved on from wood and coal as primary energy sources, and one day we might do the same with oil. What do you think? Could we live in a post-oil world? Let me know in the comments. That's all for today's video. Give it a like, and good night.